Hey, greetings everyone. As promised, Lieutenant Colonel Allen West here with Victoria Huyge, who is the Executive Director of the Texas State Rifle Association. Victoria is a native of Texas and has been a member of TSRA since the early 1990s, when she became involved in the shooting sports, and as a TSRA Life member since 1996 and an NRA member. She has participated in bullseye pistol, shotgunning, IPSC, high power service rifle, cowboy action shooting disciplines. She is a graduate of Thunder Ranch. For many years, she was an NRA certified instructor and taught beginning shooters and the NRA's Refuse to be a Victim course. She served on the board of directors of the Texas State Rifle Association as director of women's issues. After retiring from a career in corporate America, she began to work in the TSRA office in 2017 and became executive director in January of 2018. Her long-term goal is to leave TSRA a few years with updated systems and ready to take on the future of supporting the shooting disciplines and the Second Amendment. And in full disclosure, I am a life member of the Texas State Rifle Association at the benefactor level. Victoria, if I can call you Vicki, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me be here.
You know, I think that our state rifle associations are so very important. And so just give us a little background on the 100-year history of the Texas State Rifle Association.
I will. We were formed in 1919, and initially it was men coming back from the military who wanted to keep up their shooting skills. We have evolved over that 100 years to still supporting shooting disciplines in state matches, but we've taken on a much larger legislative role in this last 20 or 30 years.
You know, that's very much so the same story with the National Rifle Association, right? Because General Ambrose Burnside, you know, the first leader, coming out of the Civil War, he saw that marksmanship was such in a horrible state that they wanted to start an organization that talked about marksmanship and improving those skills. And of course, the NRA was incorporated in 1871. And like you said, it has become more of an advocacy organization, even more so for our Second Amendment. So tell us about some of the programs of the Texas State Rifle Association that are on the cutting edge here in the great state of Texas.
We still sanction 20 or more state championship matches a year in different shooting disciplines, everything from high power to cowboy action to police pistol combat. Those have been postponed or rescheduled at this point because of the COVID issue that we're all dealing with, but they're beginning to be rescheduled for the fall, and we look forward to a whole lot of them coming back toward the end of the year.
Now, what are some of the, I attended your annual meeting, and thank you for the humbling honor to be able to speak at it, but what are some of the other seminars or some of the meetings that may be upcoming and may get to once again happen when we come out of this mandatory house arrest lockdown state?
Some of the things that we've been involved in and will continue to be, Mike Cox, who is our legislative director, has been very involved in going and speaking to different groups around the state. He'll travel from one end of the state to the other to speak to them and bring them up to speed on what's happening legislatively in the state. We've also had, we have about 10 different regional directors across the state, and those people participate in events put on by the Dallas Safari Club, Houston Safari Club, different gun collecting organizations, and participate in those in terms of getting information out. We also have a fully endowed scholarship to Texas A&M University in College Station, and that has grown to the point where now we can sponsor 10 applicants a semester in helping them pay for their college education. And our foundation has about 5 more scholarships that are given out to different schools in the state.
You know, let's talk about that, because I had the opportunity to go down to Texas A&M University The Commandant of the Corps of Cadets is someone that I served with on active duty,
Oh.
General Ramirez, Big Joe as we used to call him. But I was able to spend time with the rifle team, the shooting team down there, and the captain of the shooting team was a young lady by the name of Savannah Butters, who was just a phenomenal young lady. And when I look at all of your background and all the things that you have done, you know, most people see this whole thing about, you know, the Second Amendment and owning, you know, firearms is just an old white guy thing. But I think that demographic is shifting. It's changing. Do you see that?
Absolutely, absolutely. Many of our youngsters that are coming up are from all different kinds of backgrounds, and what they're finding is that this is helping with their self-discipline, number one, but it's helping them get a higher education and helping pay for that through their shooting. So yes, we've got a lot of.
And that's one of the things that I've always been an advocate for. I remember the first time I got the opportunity to really shoot was being on our little rifle team in the high school junior ROTC program. And back then we trusted, you know, the kids, us, to be able to shoot the 22 caliber rifles. So how many of these, you know, youth sporting events do you sponsor, let's say on average per year?
We have two dedicated directors that work with youth small bore teams, in addition to several ROTC groups that we highlight and help out through our magazine information. Many of the youth groups that are shooting high power now, we sponsor several of those individuals every year to go to the nationals. And so we support them through ammunition purchases and that kind of thing, but we also support their travels there, as well as youth BB gun. We have kids starting as young as 5 and 6 years old in our BB gun program, where they learn safety and just have a really great time doing that, participating in that program.
You know, it's interesting because when you have the anti-gun, the gun control, progressive socialist left, they never talk about these programs and the positive aspect, such as the program you were involved with was the NRA Refuse to Be a Victim program. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I taught that program for several years. And the thing, even though I was a shooter at the time, the thing that I really liked about it was that it gave other people, particularly women, safety tips that could keep you from succumbing to being a victim in your daily life. And it didn't really deal with firearms. It was mainly just thinking about your surroundings, being prepared for what you were going to do. And I had a tremendous response from people to that program.
You know, when we talk about all these programs, we talk about all these positive things. You know, we know that Michael Bloomberg and his Everytown for Gun Safety and Moms Demand Action, they're now showing up on the doorsteps here in Texas, trying to replicate what they did in Virginia, where they spent $2 to $3 million, and they were able to flip the Virginia State Assembly and also the State Senate. Bloomberg has already promised $8 to $10 million to be dumped here into Texas. So when you look at that type of money coming up against you here in the state of Texas, what's your greatest concern and challenge for the Texas State Rifle Association in preventing Texas from going the way that Virginia went in 2019?
I think that the best thing that not only the members of TSRA can do, but all Texans, is to get out and vote. I think that that's really, really important. Mike Cox, our legislative director, has encouraged people in that each time there is an election where it's contested, he notifies the people in that district. He sends out postcards, he sends out emails and calls, and we contact the people and get them to get involved. We suggest that they call their representative. We definitely suggest that they go vote. And I think that that's the primary thing, is to get people involved in voting and in grassroots activities in this area.
You know, we have already seen Bloomberg with his first wave It was about $250,000 in commercial ads that he has started to run. The first one was against Congressman Dan Crenshaw. I know up here in North Texas, he's targeting State House and also a U.S. congressional seat as well. How can we make sure that we can get more resources to the Texas State Rifle Association? Because, you know, it was the Virginia Civil Defense League that really stepped up. Their state Second Amendment Association that stepped up in Virginia after what happened there in that election. So how can we better resource or even arm you guys with the resources to be able to go out there and push back against this incredible incursion we see here in Texas?
The number one thing is to join the Texas State Rifle Association. We have a relatively low annual membership fee, and the power that we have in the state of Texas is based on our membership, because legislators know that our membership is more likely to go vote than many others. So the more numbers we have enrolled in membership, the stronger we are. The other thing is, if you can afford it, to financially support TSRA and the TSRA Political Action Committee, because that's how we get the word out and we combat the advertising that the Bloomberg related organizations are able to afford.
You know, right after the Texas primary in March, you know, Joe Biden showed up down here in Dallas, and of course he was joined on stage by the nemesis of the Second Amendment, Robert Francis O'Rourke, and he flat out said that he is going to look to Mr. O'Rourke to take care of his gun problem. What are some of the key legislative priorities of the TSRA to make sure that Mr. O'Rourke is not handling our gun problem, but law-abiding gun owners here in the state of Texas have a voice through your organization?
The primary thing is that we have an extremely strong lobbying team. Mike Cox is our legislative director and the head of that team. We also have a contract lobbyist, Mark Borski, with Borski Governmental Relations, and Mark and Mike work very closely together, as well as Tara Mecha, who is the NRA Texas lobbyist. And the three of them work very closely together in analyzing all the legislation that's coming up, all of the problems that may come up, and they've done a tremendous job in promoting pro-gun legislation and keeping out the bad legislation.
You know, there's a lot of concern about one of your legislative priorities called constitutional carry. Can you kind of explain that to take away the boogeyman effect?
Constitutional carry has been very controversial, and I think that a lot of it is because people really don't understand. Many have called it open carry. There's an organization that uses that in their title, and have used more kind of in-your-face demonstration, going into Home Depot with their AR kind of tactics. Our tactic is more to work within the political structure as it exists. And we believe that constitutional carry is exactly what it says. It is our right under the Constitution to carry firearms.
And, you know, when you look at the argument against that, of course, you know, folks are going to say you're advocating for more gun violence. One of the things I find interesting is that when you do have a rally like you saw on January the 20th in Virginia, there was no gun violence at that rally.
Right, right.
So, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, Vicki.
I was just going to say the statistics prove that people who own firearms legally that have license to carry or whatever are far less likely to be involved in negative behavior with them.
And especially something that's quite disconcerting for me is that you have people here in the state of Texas that are advocating for open borders, and some places that want to make themselves sanctuary cities. And we've seen an uptick in some crime. You know, I'm up here in the Dallas County area, and you know about Houston. But yet at the same time, they want to talk about restricting the rights of legal law-abiding gun owners.
I think they're delusional.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
now, and when you talk about the delusion that is out there, because we have seen a lot of people moving into Texas from, California, Illinois, New York, New Jersey, failed blue states. We know that Texas is going to pick up 3 new congressional districts because of the influx of population. You know, give it some of the folks moving in from these places, they get it. They are tired of living there. But we also see a lot of people that are coming here and continuing to vote based upon the ideology that they had in the places that are failing. How do we make sure that we can reach those individuals and tell them that, welcome to Texas, why are you here?
That's a tough one. I think that one is going to be an ongoing issue for sure. Um, I've when I speak to people, I've known people who didn't care what your background was. They didn't want you to own a firearm. And I think that it's just to make them understand that most of us who own firearms have had some training. We are law abiding. We are careful about what we do, and that we're not interested in harming anyone else. And I think it's just to try and get that message across to them.
Well, it goes back to a saying that I remember: if you outlaw guns, only outlaws will have guns.
Exactly.
And we don't want to get to that point. Vicki, when you talk about your legacy as the executive director of the Texas State Rifle Association, what would you like for that to be?
I would like for it to be that we're at least as strong or stronger in our protection of the Second Amendment as we are now. We're going through several changes organizationally, internally here, replacing our database and website into an e-commerce system where we can participate more functionally in the e-commerce world we all live in now. I would like to see us do more programs, reaching out to people and providing more information to people who maybe have an interest but don't really know about firearms, and helping them to make the journey from not really knowing but being interested to being an advocate and being a participant in firearms activities.
Well, I want to tell you thanks so much for taking the time. Where can people follow the Texas State Rifle Association, their website, contact information?
Our website is www.tsra.com. And if you're interested in our political action committee, that one is www.tsrapac.com.
Well, thank you so much. And I will tell you that one of the reasons why I wanted to sit down and have a chat with you is because here is an incredibly successful woman who transitioned out of the corporate world and is now heading up the State Rifle Association, a 100-year-old State Rifle Association in what is without a doubt the largest conservative state in the United States of America. And you just break down all of their stereotypes from the progressive socialist left. And I wanted to highlight you, and I thank you so much for being in your position, which is critical for us here to defend liberty, our freedoms, and our rights. So God bless you, and thank you so much, Vicki.
Thank you, Alan. God bless Texas.
God bless Texas.